Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome back to FRS Season 7. We are here, round 10 of 13 for Division 2, taking a visit to the historic Spa-Francorchamps. Here is the circuit, 7 kilometers in distance, 19 corners up and down through the Ardennes Forest. Just 2 DRS zones, one short one down the pit straight and another one on the long uphill climb to the Les Combes chicane. At just over 7 kilometers, Spa is the longest track on this season's FRS calendar, and we kick off the action with turn 1, of course, a short run off of your grid boxes and a short DRS zone when the race is going to this right-handed hairpin, which can create some overtaking, but it really leads up all the way through Eau Rouge Radion and then into turn 5, the Les Combes chicane. This right-left combination really sets up for the next overtaking opportunity with that big, long DRS straight leading into it. Here are the tires that we'll see in a dry running. Soft, medium, and hard as always. The medium's about 0.7 of a second slower per lap. The hard about 1.4 seconds slower per lap than the softs are. And around this circuit, 7 laps the softs will go. The medium's 12, the hard's 17, although on those softs, the 7 laps is very hard fought. Usually about 2 laps into life, those soft tires are pretty much done and dusted. It's a pretty short race around here. I believe it's 22 laps if my math is correct. But we'll take a look at the championship standings on the heels of the last race. We are up into P1, the provisional lead of the championship by just a solitary point over Galilee. Then you have Robin up in P3, Chronicle and Spen rounding out the top 5. Zhao still within touching distance in 6th. Then you have Dog, Bananarama, Pathaman, and Peter Ward rounding out the top 10. Peter Ward doing excellent work for his Red Bull teammate so far in this season, acting as a rear gunner, not scoring as many points on his own, but really helping with Chronicle's championship hopes. Now let's head out to the circuit where we are gearing up for our first flying lap of the day. Clouds in the sky. We are expecting it to get a little damp towards the end of the qualifying session. We're gonna try and go out and get going early and get some laps in. There we are through the Les Combes chicane. It's one of the longest laps that we'll do by lap time on the season as well. But down the hill, Eau Rouge Radion, pitch it in, keep the car stuck to the ground, use as much of the downforce as you can, and then opening up the DRS as the speeds climb and climb and climb. Some of the highest top speeds we will see all season here as we hit the brakes into the Les Combes chicane, just touching 215 miles an hour. And the thing that belies it, it's uphill that whole straight. So the car is climbing that whole way. If it was flat, they'd hit even higher top speeds. But through Rivage, the long right-hander, and then we start heading back down the hill through No Name or Speaker's Corner or Ixix. That's ironic that it has like 3 names, but one of them is No Name. Who on the quick double left-hander, get the car pitched in. Don't run out too wide onto the curbing. It's easy to invalidate there. Finish off the second left-hander, and now we hit the back half of the lap. A decently high-speed chicane. Curbing can upset the car a little bit, and then we have the Stavelo and Paul Frere corners. Get the car rotated, and then exit a little wide. Have to kind of chase it out as the back end tire surface starts to heat up, and then a flat-out blast. Still with no DRS here. Still over 200 miles an hour through Blanchimont, that left-hander we just passed, and then into the bus stop chicane. Find the marker board about 100 meters out. On the brakes, get the car rotated, and then ease onto the throttle. Open up the DRS for that last little bit. A bit of a wobble from the rear end, and a 44.153 for our first lap time of the day. Provisional pole, as we were the first to set a valid lap time in this one. So first lap done and dusted in the books. Now we'll head out to our second flying lap as we gear up. And actually, it looks like the clouds are starting to go away, so we may avoid some wetness in this one. Chronicle did pip us to provisional pole position with their first lap, so now we are trying to respond in kind. A little bit of time gained through turn 1 there, and then down the hill. AR21 out of the session. A big crash as he was coming through Rivage. Easy to make a mistake because you want to get on the throttle as early as you can, but it's very tricky to do so. A couple slow cars that are waiting for us to come blasting through. And into the Les Combes chicane we go. Didn't take quite as much curbing as we did last time. A big snap of oversteer trying to get on the power. We do manage to gather it up and actually have a decent run through Les Combes there. And now we head through Rivage and finding some time where AR just DNF'd, running right out to the edge of the curbing, nearly invalidating the track limits there, but we managed to keep it nicely in bounds. And through Puan, we found about 0.3 of a second so far in this one, looking to see if we can't retake provisional pole. We did have the fastest first sector of anyone, purple in the first sector. We are running basically 0-0 downforce on the wings, so we are running very low downforce, a little bit of a bobble heading out to Paul Frere there, but 2 purple sectors, so we should be in for a good shout at provisional pole if we can handle Blanchimont and the bus stop chicane well. I think we have one of the best top speeds of anyone with our setup this week. I would hope so, since we are running basically no wings at all, but pitching it through the bus stop chicane a little bit slow on the exit, cost us about 1/10 of a second. So we only go personal best of 43.862. We end up about 1/10 behind Chronicle. So Chronicle really putting in a good final sector. And when you have low wing, it's very hard to get on the brakes, and you lose out on some of that. So there's a potential area where we are losing. But the rain stays away, and we are starting up for our final flying lap of the session. Through turn 1, we go a bit of a lockup. We're fairly deep on the exit, and that is, I believe that is Freonix just waiting on the exit for us. But we've lost about 1/10.5 through that first corner already, almost 2/10 now as we head up the hill. So we're gonna have to kind of go full send with it to try and make that up, especially since we need to find over 1/10 of a second in order to unseat Chronicle. So let's see what kind of speed we can carry. We can be kind of risky with it now through the Lake chicane, but you see up on the curb, big snap of oversteer as the car got unsettled. We did find a little bit of time through the second half of the chicane, though. So we have still made some time already in this lap, holding tight to the right, try and shorten the line, get on the throttle early. And we're managing to find just a little bit of time, staying within track limits, just barely there at Speaker's Corner. But we aren't really quite finding enough. Through Puan we go. We're getting it down to about 1/10 of a second off of our previous best, which if we can carry that all the way to the bus stop chicane, that would be fantastic. But it is going to be very tricky to do so. A little slower through the last big high-speed chicane. We run very wide out through Stavilo. Lucky to we had to kind of lift off to keep it from being invalidated. So the lap stays valid, but we are well off of our previous time. Gali slips into P2. Has managed to go a little bit quicker now on the provisional standings. And so with about 0.4 off, we are going to just abandon this lap and call it a day. Not subject the tires anymore. We start third. We ended up just losing out to Gali by about 0.02 of a second. So the start of the race, clouds over the circuit. We are on hard tires, surrounded by people with softs. The lights are out. And it's an okay getaway. Robin gets a very good launch. We're defending the inside to make sure nobody goes for a big lunge on the inside. We have some movement around the outside. We've got Peter Ward dicing with us. He's also on the hard tires, as we've seen him do so much this season, choosing that alternate strategy so he can be a cork in the bottle for Chronicle to switch onto the faster tires at the end. And he's done an incredible job with that so far. So we get through turn 1 up the hill, and we come out in 4th place and on the hard tires just behind Robin, Gali, and Chronicle, who are all on the medium tires at this stage. So if we can hang on to this group by the time we get to towards the second half of the race, slap on the medium compound tires, we can be on the better tire quicker than them at the end. We do need to keep an eye out for Peter Ward, though, because he's going to be quite racy to try and do the same to us. So we're just trying to get these hard tires settled in with the overcast skies there. It is a little bit unideal for the hard tire temperatures. They do kind of fall out of their window at times. So you got to kind of try and keep some energy going through them, and it does mean that the difference is quite significant. Now those medium tires, as we saw in the pre-show, going to be about 0.7 of a second faster per lap than the hards are, and there's a bit of a kerfuffle towards the back of the grid. Looks like 3 cars stuffed up in Stavilo, but you can see the straight line speed that we have compared to these other drivers, and just closing up with that straight line ability. But this is where it really starts to hurt us. Not only do we have less grip to get on the throttle, But having less wing also means that we have less grip to play with. So we got to try and just open a gap to Peter Ward. Make sure he's not in attacking position on us by the time that the DRS becomes available. We are starting to lose touch with this front group. A full lap into this one, we've lost about 0.8 of a second. So pretty much tire differential plus a little bit. On higher fuel, I would expect that these hard tires are not so great, but you can see once again down this straight goes from about 1 second in arrears to about 0.6 of a second. So we make up quite a lot of time on the straights. And if we can just stay close enough to get some DRS, we may have the ability to attack. We went purple in the first sector already, fastest of anyone, which is not surprising at this stage of the race, considering the straight line advantage that I think I've baked into the car a little bit. And I'm yawning. I don't know why I'm yawning. But we'll move on as we continue through lap 2. Seems like weather, at least at this stage, not going to be a big factor. It is overcast, but I don't think we're scheduled for any rain in this race. It's just going to be about trying to hang on to this group ahead. Chronicle's getting a good kind of stretch away from Gali and Robin. And we are going to just try and catch up. So we're going to burn some extra battery here in order to try and close ourselves up to where Robin and Gali are. Set ourselves up because DRS will be enabled on this next lap, and the detection point is towards the top of the hill. So we do need a good run through turn 1 in order to keep that DRS available to us. But it's a struggle to get out of that final corner. You can see we lose about 1/10 of a second out on exit of these slow corners, and I also just wasn't feeling super confident on the throttle at this stage of the race either. But you can see we just fell out of that 1 second margin as we crossed the detection point there. So we don't quite get the DRS this time by. The car's wandering a bit up the hill. But you can see even without the DRS that we're still relatively competitive in straight line speed. Robin a little bit quicker with DRS, having a look to the inside of Gali up ahead. But no move on the table for them just yet. And if they can start fighting, then, well, that might bring us into play just a little bit. So we're going to try and use some of our battery, get close to them, and see if they start dicing it up a bit. We are under-fueled by quite a bit. If you notice, about 0.84 under at this point. No big issue. That was tested in the pre-race practices over the course of the week. You can see we're running a little bit wide through Puan. We lift off to give up time so we don't pick up a warning in that case, but it has cost us about 2.5 tenths to the cars ahead. So it's going to make it fairly difficult for us to get into the DRS range. But as I was saying, we've tested the fuel load just driving normally. It's plenty to we get plenty of lift naturally in order to save that fuel differential. So we're burning a lot of battery here, trying to get to a second at the detection point, but we are going to come up just a little bit short, about 1/10 of a second short, 0.069. And we are going to have to do some work here. Looks like a little bobble from Robin. Chronicle setting fastest laps of the race out front. So continuing to be very quick, 47s. Definitely got the pace kind of dialed in on the track this time by. So once again, no, not in DRS. We're going to jump ahead now. Lap 6 of 22. And we have lost contact with Gali. Robin had a bit of a bobble off track. And now AR21 out of the session. You can see his dot stopped up after turn 1. So he is out of this race already. And it is early. It's very early to be going on to this medium tire, but everybody that's on the medium tire definitely has the ability to get to the end with the hards. So I came in to get off the hard tire onto the mediums because, well, I was either going to have to make a green flag pit stop while on the hard tires, or I can try and do some tire management and get the medium tires to the end, which I feel like I can do. I'm decent with tire management when I need to be without giving up too much lap time. So on go the medium tires. Chronicle out ahead, Gali out ahead, and you can see Red Bull team orders very much in play as Peter Ward takes over the lead of the race on those hard compound tires. So Chronicle has his gunner out ahead. So jumping ahead now, lap 8, as we're getting ready to restart. Red Bull running 1-2. Peter Ward trying to get a good launch. Actually spins up the rear tires and goes around. So yellow flags in the area. And we get a good run on Gali. We're going to have a little look to the inside. We're going to get on the brakes early. He runs into the back of Chronicle. You see a little carbon fiber. We give him a little tap. He gets onto the curbing and spins out, and he hits the back of us. We see everybody coming on our right, left side of the track, so we work our way through a couple more spinners. But already, these medium tires now not being treated well, as he slowed up more than I thought he was going to because he made contact with the back of Chronicle. I made a light contact with him. He tried to accelerate off the sausage curb, and that is never, ever going to work. So he just went right around, and unfortunately, while I was trying to sneak past him, he was directly into the side of me, spun me around. So now I've got to try and at least catch up the pack before it gets too stretched out, but that is very much counter to my need of tire saving. You can see already 7% wear after basically 2 safety car laps and a little bit of a spinala because of being hit. So we are trying to chase down ahead. I believe Gali has damage. Somehow we've managed to avoid any damage. It's mostly took it on the side pod. So we are catching Gali at a rate. At this point, I'm not sure whether he's going to be coming into the pits or not, although the time that he is losing seems to indicate that he would be coming into the pits pretty soon. So Furionics has 3-second time penalty out ahead of us for a top 5 position. We are catching Gali rather rapidly. I'm trying to just time it to see if I can catch him and maybe pass him before the bus stop, but I was a little bit too far back through Blanchemont. He's on the inside, and so I just kind of lift coast and play it safe, make sure he's coming into the pits. He does indeed. And now 3.6 seconds the margin to Furionics ahead. Chuck is on the hard tire, which is going to be a little bit slower as well. So feeling confident in my ability to catch up the pack a little bit here. But I am having to push quite a bit and drive relatively hard. I want to get onto the back of this group as quick as possible. You can see the lead pack, Chronicle, already way out in front now with Robin, Spen, and a Ferrari of Chuck right there. So we do have about 1.8 seconds to bridge after we cross Furionics to catch up with Chuck, who is in that kind of podium position battle. The Chronicle running very well. We go purple in the first sector, so we are putting in an aggressive lap at this stage. And you can see we've already brought it down now 2 seconds to Furionics. So we are getting relatively close and should be able to get an attacking position at this rate by the next time down the main straight up towards the Lacombe chicane turn 5. So pressing on we go. 1.6 seconds to the margin. It is taking quite a bit of life out of the medium tire. I think at this stage I just wanted to get past Furionics and then switch to kind of tire save, which I'd have to go into some significant tire saving, which is going to be tough around here to do. We'd go 2 purple sectors, so we're purple in the middle as well. And now burning a little bit more battery. This will give us DRS on Furionics down the pit straight. We won't be quite close enough to make an attacking maneuver, but you can see the gap. 2.9 seconds to the battle with Chuck, and you can see Robin right up ahead as well. So we're well within DRS of Furionics here. Well, once it's enabled. It's not enabled yet because 3 laps. We do set fastest lap of the race, and DRS now is enabled. And we're going to be well close enough by the time we go up Eau Rouge and Radion. And our engineer's already barking at us about strategy. So pressing on, we're going to head up Eau Rouge and Radion, see if we can get a good run. We go wide, and the back end steps out, and around we go and into the barriers. And that is the end of my day. So I think it was the dirty air that did it, because I'd done the lap before, full throttle up the hill. You can watch the telemetry. I believe the dirty air just ran me out a little bit wide there that time. I didn't quite account for it. And it's a frustrating DNF, a race that we really needed late stage of the season. And we are the cause of a safety car. So that is the end of this week's race. Sadly, no points scored, but hopefully something better next time. I'll see y'all next week. Peace out.